fights. Johnny's 58, chasing the lights. Both had battles that brought them low, but they found a way to steal the show. Health concerns were weighing them down till they found a path that turned it around. Carnivore diet, they took the lead, finding strength in the promises they keep. Now they're living wild, living free, healing body and mind. Just wait and see. Tune into the truth every single week. Real talk with Brian and Johnny. That's the peak. 8 p.m. on YouTube. Gather near. Uplifting vibes. Let's give a cheer.
All right. We are live. Hello, everybody. Brian here with Johnny. How you doing today, Johnny?
Brian, how are you doing?
Good, good. Let's see. I see Paul is here.
Paul's here. Hey, Paul.
So hello, Paul. Go ahead and say hi in the chat as you get here. And so the title that I had was Let's Talk Carnivore. So we're going to do kind of a special thing tonight. Guess who's here?
Bye, Peter.
Hello. So all right, so we're going to do a special thing tonight. We're going to have certain topics that we already wrote out, and Johnny's got them. He's got like a, I don't know, bucket or something, and we're going to just pull a sheet of paper out and read what the topic is, and then we're going to talk about it. And we're going to do that a few times, throughout the evening as we're, speaking to y'all live. Carnivore Coach Edens is here. Hello.
Howdy.
All right. So I think that pretty much explains how we're doing it tonight, right? Anything you want to add to that?
Just going to be random. Like I said, we picked I've got them right here. Brian and I collaborated a little earlier today on different topics. All these topics are things that we've covered on our podcast in the past, and we thought we would just kind of do a random draw. So I took all of these, and I this is the second copy. I took the first copy, cut them out, crumpled them up, and threw them in my my cheap Stanley cup knockoff cup there. So I'm just going to draw one out completely random, and we'll talk about that topic and kind of revisit some topics that we've covered and see if we can come up with some new ideas. But Brian, if I can, let me go ahead and read the topics that we have, if that's okay. So people can see kind of the topics that we're working with tonight. And of course, these will be completely random. So in no specific order, the topics that we came up with that we've previously discussed on this show as carnivore is too expensive. Carnivore is too restrictive. Carnivore is not sustainable long-term. Carnivore is dangerous to your health. What is your why? Why are you doing carnivore? Brian had a great video about that earlier today. Unexpected improvements on carnivore. What kind of things did you experience that improved on carnivore that really didn't expect? I've got several of those. Carnivore in social situations, like with the holidays coming up. How can you remain committed to your diet and be in these different holiday gatherings and so forth? Messing up on carnivore, what to do next. And if you watch my last video, you'll see that pretty much applies to me. Carnivore and exercise, is it really necessary? Supplements on carnivore. So a subject that Brian and I tackled just a couple weeks ago. Traveling while on carnivore. Brian did a bunch of traveling a couple months ago when his daughter got married and graduated college. So he'll have a lot of information on that. A typical day of eating on a carnivore diet. What do we pretty much eat day to day? And then the last one Brian came up with was adapting while transitioning to a carnivore diet. So that's all the topics. They are randomly placed in this cup. So Brian, if you're ready, I guess we can maybe draw the first one out and get started.
Okay, I think we're ready. I don't have any kind of a drum roll, so I'll just tell you, go ahead and pull it out.
Anyway, there's my little drum roll. So I'm just going to grab these out. I have no idea. I've got it all crumpled up like that, as you guys can see. So I'm just going to pull one out. And you'll be as surprised as Brian and I are because we have no idea the order that these are in. All right. So ironically, the first one is the first topic that I came up with. And we'll revisit this, you guys, and if you can see that. Maybe backwards on the screen, but carnivore is too expensive. So when Brian and I talk to people and you guys talk to people out there about doing carnivore, the first thing that comes up, and I'm not saying this is necessarily a wrong question, but people assume that eating only meat is more expensive than eating the standard American diet. So Brian, why don't you start kind of expand on our thoughts on that carnivore is too expensive? How did we handle that when we talked about it before?
Okay. So first of all, I want everybody that's watching to be able to comment on these topics as well. So if you've got thoughts on each topic, this particular one about carnivore being expensive and budgeting and that sort of stuff, tell us in the comments and we'll talk about what you say in the comments as well. But okay.
Exactly.
So for me, one of the biggest things is that you can how do I want to say this, but you can measure it based on other things as well, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't make sense, so let me explain it. So okay, I might spend, let's say, I don't know, $15 on a steak. Okay. And maybe before I was going to eat something that was highly processed and was $5. So I spent $10 more. But did I save money because I didn't buy sides? Or did I save money because I didn't have to go to the doctor as often? That kind of thing. So that's the first thing that I like to look at, is look at the whole picture, not just how much something costs. Okay. Now that I got that out of the way, I will turn it over to you in just a second here, Johnny. But the other thing I want to say is that there are cheaper ways of doing carnivore and still being completely in the good with carnivore and, getting healthier and that kind of stuff, right? Like, we see a lot of times on YouTube, we talk about eating a steak and all this stuff, but you don't have to do that. Or you can go for a cheaper cut of steak, like a chuck steak, for instance, much cheaper. But you can literally go down and just eat like ground beef and eggs. You could eat hot dogs if you want. Maybe not the cleanest, but it's still better than eating a Twix candy bar, for instance, right? So that's a big piece, is do what you feel comfortable with in your price range. If it's, basic eggs, not even pasture raised eggs, that's still fine. They maybe aren't quite as high quality, but they're still very good. You can eat those eggs. You can eat ground beef. I see somebody's got something in here already about picked up at 6 giant T-bones for $4.99 a pound on sale at Winn-Dixie. So look for sales, stuff like that. I'm going to change it back to you here, Johnny, and I'm going to just kind of check the comments here and bring them up so we can look at them.
So that's a great point that somebody brought up there. You can look for sales. There's an app you can download on your phone called the Flip app, and you can go on there, put your favorite grocery stores in there that are near you. And my wife does this every week. You can check the Flip app and see if anybody's got meat on sale. And when you find it on sale, whether it be the ribeye, New York strip, chuck steak, or whatever, if you have room in your freezer, go ahead and stock up as much as you can. You can even can meat. My wife has actually done that for me. She does a lot of canning, and she's actually canned some meat for me, some chicken and some pork. So there are ways to put food up even if you don't have a lot of room in your freezer. But there's definitely ways to do it. Look for buy one, get ones. If you can get with your local butcher, go to your favorite grocery store, talk to the butcher in the meat department, and ask that person, when do they get new meat in? And sometimes, there'll be a certain day of the week that they have to sell the meat by that day. And it's either use or freeze by that day or the next day. And they'll mark it down 30, 40%. So do that. And like Brian said, even the cheapest hamburger meat and the cheapest eggs far exceeds oatmeal and Pop-Tarts, or, different types of like casseroles that are full of rice and all kinds of other stuff. Anyway, yeah, Peter's saying it there. The Flip app is a must. Yeah, I agree. I have it on my phone. My wife's got it. And it can really help you navigate the carnivore way of life by finding the stuff that's on sale. And don't be afraid to get chicken. You can get chicken thighs and chicken legs, sometimes $1.99 a pound, sometimes cheaper, and it's still carnivore. I don't eat a lot of chicken, but if a budget was the issue, I would eat chicken. I do eat chicken wings with skin on, of course.
I like this analogy here too. If you go down the cereal aisle, you buy a box of cereal, right? See how much it would cost for a pound.
Yeah.
So it'd be more than $6. So let's say ground beef. Let's say you find ground beef for $5.99 a pound, so $6 a pound, right? See how much your cereal would cost for per pound. It's gonna be more than $6. So that's another way to look at it. Now, granted, that's not a good idea to eat a pound worth of cereal either, but that just shows you, if you're looking at the mass, the product, or the price per pound, whatever, it's not as bad as you think. So that's a good point too. I like the chicken option that you said. You can get chicken really, really cheap. It's amazing. Like some of the stuff that they say, maybe isn't as popular, so it's a little bit cheaper, is probably some of the better stuff, like chicken legs with the skin on them. That they're pretty good nutrient wise. Not necessarily the most fat, but with the skin on it, it does add to the fat. So, chicken legs, chicken thighs, chicken wings, like you mentioned, all those things are really good there. Let's see. Peter said, I've literally saved thousands of dollars over the last almost 3 years on finding sales on steaks, ground beef, chicken, pork, butter, egg, shrimp, brisket, etc. on the Flip app. Yeah, that's great. I actually don't use the Flip app. I probably should. But I tend to buy in bulk, which is another good way to do things. Like I go to Costco. I have a membership through Costco, and it's not that expensive for the membership. And you get some pretty good deals. You can buy in bulk. And what's good here is I have an older fridge with freezer in my garage. And then we have one that is a little bit smaller, but we got it on sale that I have in the basement, kind of like my man cave. So I got that one, fridge, freezer, and then we got our normal fridge and freezer. So we've got a lot of storage area. So when I bulked up a lot of ground beef and steak and stuff like that, I will have all three of the freezers packed. But that's a good way to buy things when they're cheaper, if you can afford to do it at once. And, in the long run, that works out better budget wise.
Brian, one more thing on that. If somebody out there doesn't really have a lot of space in their freezer, I'm like you. My wife and I bought a new refrigerator freezer a couple years ago. Our old refrigerator freezer still worked okay, so I put it out in the garage. So we have the 2 refrigerators, 2 freezers, and then we have a small chest freezer we paid like $150 for a couple years ago. But I've been on Facebook Marketplace and I've seen people trying to sell chest freezers for like $30 or $40, $50. So if you didn't have a freezer, you didn't really have a couple $100 to go buy one, and you could check somewhere like Facebook Marketplace and see if you could find one, plug it in, make sure it works. And for $30 or $40, you might find a small chest freezer, which will pay for itself the very first time you fill it up with meat that you find on sale. I mean, you'll get the return on investment on that probably within a couple weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wonder how many people are actually going to get that, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
That's right.
But Rick got his freezer from the side of the road.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, did you have to
if
fix
it works,
it?
or if you can make it work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Did it work when you got it, or did you have to do a little work on it? Because Rick can fix anything. Rick is a master of a lot.
Yep. All right. So do we want to pick another topic?
Yeah. Let's go on to topic number 2. I'm just going to reach in here. I don't know what I'm grabbing. Okay, there it is, guys. And as I finish them, I'm putting them off to the side so I don't pull the same one twice. So let's see here if I can undo this without tearing it up. I didn't know how to do this other than balding them up, so I just balled them all up. This is a great one. I'm glad Rick is here because this one, and people have told you this, Brian, they've told me this, we've seen it online a bunch. Carnivore is not sustainable long-term. That might be backwards on the screen. I don't know how it looks, but yeah, people will, even people I work with, other healthcare professionals will tell me that carnivore is not sustainable long-term. And Rick, right there, Charger Mopar, is my proof that that is absolutely not true.
Yeah. So I had someone comment on one of my posts on Facebook. I think it was today or yesterday. Maybe it was yesterday. And that was one of the things that they said, that carnivore doesn't work long term. And it's evident by people that are no longer doing carnivore because they said that their health became poor. It seems that he was alluding to people like Paul Saladino and so forth, which there's already enough that I can talk about there. But there is no scientific reason why something that makes you healthier over time, for what you got people going 2-3 years, whatever, that all of a sudden does the opposite effect, right? Now, maybe you could be eating healthier than what you were before, right? And it just isn't quite as healthy as it should be, so that slows down a little bit. But in terms of that make somebody actually now start to be unhealthy, that makes no sense.
Right.
There's so many different things that could happen. It could be like, look at me. For 48 years, I ate horribly. You know, I ate all the junk food. And this is something that I even said in a comment today. Like, this was on somebody else's page, I think, that I commented. But just because I've been carnivore for 3 years, I was eating badly for 48 years. I can't expect that 3 years of carnivore is going to completely reverse everything I did to my body for 48 years, right? Any kind of damage that could have been done. There could be damage that I just can't escape in tomorrow, a month, a year, 10 years from now. Who knows when it could surface, you know? That's something I have to live with, because I didn't start eating properly and thinking about my health at a younger age. But these people that say that it's not sustainable, most likely there's something going on. And this might be controversial, but one of the biggest things probably is they're addicted to carbs and they're justifying carbs. I'm sure I've done that before, right? I think, Johnny, you've had lapses where you've done the same thing because of addiction to carbs.
Recently.
So I'll let you kind of take over here, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, most likely there's something that they weren't doing right or whatever, you know, like that.
Well, Brian, I'll say this. I think a lot of people that come on your Facebook group or your videos or mine or anybody else's that come into the chat on different things and they say carnivore is not sustainable or carnivore is dangerous or whatever, I bet a lot of those people have never done it. I'm amazed at the amount of people that come at me and tell me all about carnivore, this, that, and the other. And I say, well, how long have you been carnivore? Oh, I've never done it. But they're all of a sudden experts on something they've never even done. Another example, if I can move over just a little bit, I drive an EV, an electric vehicle. I bought it. It's a Chevy Equinox EV. And I was curious. I have solar at my house, and because I love solar stuff. And so I bought an EV so I could kind of get free gas, if you will, free electricity. And when I put on Facebook that I bought this EV, I had a girl that I went to high school with just up one side and down the other. She just berated me and told me all the problems and everything that was going to happen. And I'd had the car for several months. And I asked her what kind of EV did she have? And she said, oh, I've never had one. So it kind of reminds me of carnivore. People that have never done it. They don't know a family member that's ever done it. They just see a headline on or a thumbnail on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and they want to comment on it. And they have no expertise on the subject at all. They don't know anybody that's ever done it. Now, as far as a point you made earlier, Brian, which I was going to say, so I'm glad you said it first. there's no case in recorded history that I'm aware of where something can be very good for you, very good for you, very good for you, very good for you, and then boom, now it's bad for you. If it heals all the things that are wrong, it means that your body is getting the nutrients that it needs and it's not getting the toxins that it doesn't need. How on earth could that possibly go from being extremely healthy and restorative and healing to all of a sudden being detrimental to your health? From a scientific standpoint, that makes no sense whatsoever. So when people come at that and say, oh, you'll be healthy for a while, but in 5 years you'll be sick, or in 2 years, I'll say, well, do you know my friend Rick, Charger Mopar? He's been doing this for 42 years, and he's the healthiest 57-year-old I know of. So people like Rick and what's the lady from up in Canada, the rancher, Maggie, whatever, she's
Maggie.
83 or whatever.
Yep.
And then Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, 15, 16 years now. She hasn't had a carb in 16 years, and she's my age, and she can do cartwheels on the beach in a bikini and looks amazing. She's healthy as they can be. She's an eye surgeon. You look at Dr. Barry, and my guy, Dr. Baker, Sean Baker. I mean, he's doing sprints, he's working out, he's doing everything. And he and I are, I think, about 2 months apart in age. And he's been, I know, at least 10 years carnivore. So that whole, it's not sustainable long-term, holds no water whatsoever. There's no documented proof that anybody saying that has any clue of what they're talking about.
Couple more somewhat long-term carnivores. Kelly Hogan, I think, is like 15 or 16 years, something like that. Exactly. 17, somewhere in there. Dr. Kiltz, I think, is like 12 years. So there's a couple more examples. And you know what else is, there's a lot of people out there that do say that carnivore didn't work for them. But here's the problem. You have to find what works for you within carnivore. And a lot of people will watch YouTube videos and they say, okay, I'm going to try that. And it didn't work for them. So they watch somebody else. Okay, I'm going to try that. And it didn't work for them. And they're like, okay, I give up. It doesn't work for me. Everybody is different. And just because a certain person eats this or does it this way doesn't mean that that's going to work for you. And the other question of this is actually something I'm working on a video offline for, is what is your actual maybe goal, or what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Because you might be saying, okay, it didn't work for me because I weigh 300 pounds and I want to weigh 260, but you didn't necessarily follow the way that a lot of people do that lose weight. There's some people that will lose weight just because they're so heavy and they're eating healthier now that they're going to lose weight. And then they get to a point where they don't lose as much weight. And then it's kind of like, okay, are you looking just for health benefits? Keep doing what you're doing. Or do you really want to keep losing weight? If you want to keep losing weight, maybe you need to add some intermittent fasting, a couple day fast, something like that. Some days where you eat a little bit more protein, some days where you eat a little more fat, that kind of thing. So you got to do some change up things to keep losing weight, right? So maybe that's part of it, is they're not really doing the things they need to do within that way of eating to lose weight. Because I can tell you, like, carnivore, for me, I lost weight right away, but I was so big and unhealthy, right? And then it's kind of slowed down, and it's more of maintaining. Like, if I just eat carnivore, I can't figure out any way to gain weight, to be honest. People will say, oh, you're eating too much. And I'm like, but I'm not gaining weight. So how am I eating too much? Or then some people say, oh, you're not eating enough, which that could actually be for some people. But I'm like, no, trust me, I'm eating enough. It's not that. But, you know, that's the thing. Like, I maintain, I can't figure out how to gain weight. Now, I know how I can lose weight. It's getting my mind to lose more weight, because I feel really good. I feel a lot healthier, and I feel like I'm getting healthier. I feel like I'm losing fat, which is the key. I still see that in measurements. I just don't see it on the scale. Dr. Tony Hampton actually just had a video where he was talking about that. Don't always look at the scale, because you might be seeing other improvements. So, long story, but it has a lot to do with what you're trying to achieve, because you might not tackle it exactly the same way if you're trying to achieve something. And you might not understand that and just say, oh, it didn't work for me because I tried to achieve this. Like I've heard so many people before say, oh my gosh, I felt so much better. I got rid of this issue and that issue, but it didn't work for me. I was like, what do you mean it didn't work for you? Well, I didn't lose any weight. Okay. But you felt so much better. I mean, I get that you want to lose weight. Did you lose some fat though? Because that's what we really want to lose. And if not, okay, then maybe you need to do some other things. Are you very stationary? Do you need to do some walking or something, you know? So there's different things like that. I probably talked too long, but those are my thoughts there. So send it back over to you.
One real quick one. I don't want to derail anything, but I have a really good friend of mine, a truck driver friend of mine. He's 63 years old, really big guy. He's lost weight and put it all back on. So he decided to try carnivore. He lost like 60 pounds. Arthritis went away. Blood pressure came down. Everything was going perfectly. I kept in contact with the guy pretty much weekly. And he got the little ketone, the keto meter, I can't remember the name of it, but you check your ketones, and it never showed he was in ketosis. So he said, it don't work for me. He quit and he started taking GLP-1s. Even though everything was going well, losing weight, inflammation going down, face getting smaller, feeling better, joint pain went away. But because it didn't show up on the keto meter, the ketones, he said it didn't work. And I was dumbfounded by that, but he got upset when I tried to talk to him. So I let it go. Now he's taking GLP-1s. He says it's the best he's ever felt, which is great. I'm happy for him. I just don't know how sustainable that is, because that's exogenous versus natural. Anyway, let's go on to another topic, Brian.
Really quick. Here's something interesting about the GLP-1 thing. GLP-1 is a hormone, right? And eating meat actually produces GLP-1. So it's the same thing as getting the shot, except you're not getting the shot.
Right.
Just saying. Okay, let's go to the next topic.
All right, next topic. And there's probably a million comments in there we're overlooking.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, I like Paul saying they're keto. I used to have one of those ketone things. I got rid of it because I don't care. I don't care what my ketones are. I care that I'm feeling better. I care that I'm sleeping better. I care that I have no pain anywhere. I could care less what the ketone meter says. I know the GKI, the glucose ketone index, is an important thing, but it's not on top of my list. So this is one for you, Brian, that you had this a lot recently, if you can see this. Traveling while on carnivore. Now, we know a couple months ago, your daughter graduated college. She and her, at the time, boyfriend moved down to, I think, the Charleston area. They got engaged. So you were traveling a lot, helping them move, helping them get into their new home that they'd purchased. So you really had those challenges of being on the road a lot and trying to stay carnivore. So I'll let you take that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to be traveling again, because this weekend I am going out of town. My wife and I, a little over a week from now, are going to be married 28 years. So that's a long time, isn't it? That's crazy. Yeah. Like I just think about, I'm like, man, we've been married for 28 years. But anyway, so we're going on vacation, and we're actually going to go down to Myrtle Beach for a while and see my one daughter and her fiance. And then we're going to go to Charleston and see my other daughter and her fiance. So we're going to kind of go to both of those areas. We're going to get to go to the beach and all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be another time for me, right? That could be challenging and so forth. So I will say I'm probably not usually 100% clean when I go on vacation. It's really, really difficult to do that. One of the best things I think, though, is if you're going to stay in a place where you can do cooking yourself at the place that you're at. So if it's like an Airbnb or something like that, and they has an oven, a grill maybe outside, that kind of stuff, that really simplifies things a lot. If you're in a hotel, maybe all you have access to is a microwave. It makes it a lot harder. So what I like to do when we go places and I have access to cook my own food is one of the first things we go to the grocery store and get some meat. And, I'll try and plan for what I'm going to eat for the next few days that way, knowing that there will be some times we're going to go out to restaurants. And then I have to figure out restaurant wise, at what's best on their menu that I can eat. Usually if there's multiple people there, if there's some kind of side dish, instead of it just going to waste or something, I can just give a side dish to somebody else. But, sometimes I will actually eat right before we go to the restaurant because I know I'm not going to get a lot of food at the restaurant. I might get like a steak or something, but it might not be a big steak because I don't want to pay $100 for a lot of steak at a restaurant, right? It's going back to that budget thing. So those are the kinds of things that I'll do. Let me pass it over to you and see what you got for traveling.
Well, fortunately, I don't do much traveling now, but so if I were going to do like a day trip or something, I would probably try to plan on getting up early and eating a big breakfast, try to carry me through as much of the day as I could. Or, I'm more into fast food, so I might go out by Wendy's and just get some burger patties. Typically, I'll order like the Baconator, a double or triple Baconator, plain, no bun. And they put it in a little plastic container with a lid and they give me a fork. So I would do that. But if I were going to go out to a nicer restaurant, if I were out, let's say down in Georgia with my brother and sister-in-law, and my brother and sister and brother-in-law, and my dad and my stepmom, we always got to a nice restaurant. I may actually circle through a McDonald's or a Wendy's, get some burger patties on the way there and go ahead and kind of pre-eat, if you will, because, I don't have a great big budget when we go to some of these nicer restaurants. And then I'll get like a small steak, whatever, and a glass of water or unsweet tea. And so I'm eating with everybody. I'm participating in the, event of being there. I'm traveling and I'm still keeping it relatively clean. And if I leave a restaurant, let's say if I go to the restaurant first and I eat steak and shrimp or whatever, and I'm a little hungry, it's really easy to circle through a drive-through somewhere and just get some burger patties to kind of get me full enough to get me to the next day. So yeah, there you go. A dozen boiled eggs. That's a great idea. Put some boiled eggs in a little Ziploc bag, bacon or purse bacon. Yeah.
Yep. Rick's cooking on the engine.
Yeah, there you go.
So Paul says go to Sweet Moss 100-mile barbecue in South Carolina. So is that the name of the place? Sweet Moss?
Yeah,
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah. In South Carolina, so I guess you're going Myrtle Beach, so maybe or in Charleston, maybe you'll be able to find that.
Yeah, I have to look that up. Okay. All right. Do we want to go to the next topic? Maybe we've done so far 2, 3.
I think we've done 3. So this will be number 4.
3. Okay.
So this is number 4. Let's see. This is one you came up with, Brian.
Before you say this, real quick, Rio's Brazilian Steakhouse, very good. I've had it before. It is expensive. Most Brazilian steakhouses are expensive, but it is very good. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's good. I haven't done a Brazilian steakhouse yet. That's on my bucket list. The wife and I are going on vacation, hopefully in the fall, later on in the fall, and maybe we'll try it then. By the way, Brian, my anniversary is next week also. My wife and I have been married 32 years. On the 25th will be our 32nd wedding anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
So appreciate it. So this is one you came up with, Brian, as adapting while transitioning to a carnivore diet. So for those that are getting started on carnivore and they don't know what to expect, they've heard all these horror stories and they don't know what to expect health-wise or how they're going to feel while they're adapting to carnivore. Brian, kick it off there. What do you think about adapting while transitioning to carnivore?
Okay. Hello, Jesse's here.
Hey,
so
Jesse, that's my coworker, Jesse. He's 22 years old and he went carnivore. He went carnivore about 3 or 4 months ago. We play golf together now. Young guy, 22 years old. Hey, Jesse, great to see you, my friend. He's lost like 30 or 40 pounds. He's 22 years old. He's all in. He is all in on carnivore. He eats a few veggies every now and then, which is okay. But he looks amazing. He feels amazing. And the first thing he noticed when he went carnivore, Jesse, I hope you don't mind me sharing this. He said, my armpits don't stink. He said, I don't even have to wear deodorant anymore. So that was the first thing he noticed because he's a young, healthy guy. And even at 22, he's seeing, really good health benefits from this way of eating. Jesse, I love you, man. I can't wait to see you again.
All right. That is great.
Yeah.
Nice job, Jesse. Okay. So back to the topic here. We're talking about transitioning, right? So the exact question again was how to adapt to transitioning.
Yeah. Adapting while you're transitioning over to carnivore.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing I want to say here is the reason why I kind of worded it the way I did with transitioning is because I don't think that you should just jump into carnivore if you are eating a very high carb diet. you should ease into it over 4 to 6 weeks. And that's going to allow your gut and your body to adjust to the higher fat intake and so forth. Getting rid of carb intake, you're slowly lowering that carbohydrate intake and whatnot. But so biggest things to adjust is looking, I think, at the quality. So you want to, as you adjust and you're lowering that carb level, you want it to be more of like whole food type of carbs that you're eating, right? So get away from Snickers, Reese's, that kind of stuff, right? Why do I say that? Because somebody can say, well, carbohydrate, no matter what it is going to break down into glucose in your body. Well, the reason why I say that is because certain foods tend to be more addicting. They actually make some of those foods more addicting on purpose to get you to buy them. And if you're eating whole food, vegetables, whatever, maybe some fruit, they're not going to have quite as addicting properties to them. So it's going to be easier to make that transition. Paul, you're right. Bart usually says 6 to 8 weeks. I tend to say 4 to 6 weeks. Bart is really an expert. He's probably right in saying 6 to 8 weeks. He's probably also erring more on the side of caution because he's seen what can happen when you just jump in. And I mean, Bart has told me before, like, literally there are people that think that they're great, and 6 months later, their gut starts wreaking havoc. So that's why it's important to transition. Very important. Also, you tend to not have as much of a problem with the keto flu, as they call it, where, you know, you get the aches and, you know, you just diarrhea, that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, so that's what I feel is important, is to do that type of thing, the quality as you're transitioning, because it's going to help you to not be as addictive, if that makes sense, right? Like, it's going to be a lot harder to make that transition if you're weaning down on carbs, but what you're still eating are Snicker bars and stuff like that, right? So what do you got with this one, Johnny?
Well, everybody's different, and I am the guy that jumps into the deep end of the pool right off the bat. I don't put my toe in the water. I just dive in and pray the water's deep. So when I went carnivore, I went from the standard American diet on Sunday to carnivore 100% on Monday. And I paid the price. I had some of the keto flu stuff, mostly diarrhea. I did notice a lot of improvements in my health pretty quickly. But then I went through some pretty bad oxalate dumping, and I had lower back pain, Brian, for about like 4 or 5 days. That was unbelievably painful. And it went away about as fast as it came. It almost drove me to stopping carnivore. So maybe I should have took your advice or Professor Bart K's advice and gone into it, because I did have that. But once I got over those hurdles, it was amazing. Being such an addict, a sugar addict, and a processed food, ultra processed food addict as I am still, we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't know that 4 to 6 weeks would have turned into 4 to 6 months. I never would have got there. I just needed to abstain, and I took my lumps. And hey, Amy, I took my lumps, and I got through the diarrhea and the upset stomach and the oxalate dumping. It was rough, but I got through it. But I don't know, for me personally, if I would have tried this, go with that over that long period of time, if I ever would have got there. So maybe I'm the extreme on the other side, but probably somewhere in the middle. Electrolytes, I didn't really understand, which is crazy because I'm a paramedic, but I really, really did not focus enough on electrolytes. And I think I felt really bad a lot because, I lost so much weight so quickly. I was peeing like crazy. So I was losing sodium, potassium, and magnesium and other minerals. I was using table salts instead of a high quality mineral salt, and I wasn't supplementing my electrolytes. So I think I would have had not quite as bad a time as I did transitioning had I followed a little better regimen and not just been so blindly going for it. So I should have done a little more research, but that's my take on that.
I like this comment here. I think keto is a great way to get into it. That's actually how I did it. I started with keto, and I wasn't even sure at the time that I was going to go to carnivore, but I slowly kind of got to the point of thinking like, yeah, carnivore is what I want to do. So I kept reducing until I was completely done with plant materials. But I did go straight from standard American diet to keto, which probably wasn't exactly the best. Still lower it a little bit, not because, a lot of carbs in the standard American diet. And then keto really doesn't have that many carbs. So I went pretty big of jump. And I did have a little bit of diarrhea problems first. But anyway, okay. Lamb says I did keto for about a month, got fed up with the recipes and macro counting quickly. Yeah. I just actually didn't see a lot of benefit myself. And maybe it was the things I was eating. I don't know. But that I was still eating, I should say. But I still had issues, with pain and so forth. And it wasn't until I went to carnivore that seemed to ease for me. So. All right.
Ready for the next topic, Brian?
I think we are.
All right. Reach in here and grab one. This is kind of fun, not knowing what the topic's going to be and then having to come up with something off the top of our heads.
Yeah.
So this is a good one. I don't know if you guys can see it. Brian, is that turned around backwards? Is that backwards in the camera?
No, it's fine. It looks fine.
Yeah, okay. So a typical day of eating on a carnivore diet. And this will be an interesting topic. I'll start on this one, Brian, if you don't mind. Because for me, it's been through an evolution, if you will. When I first started, I was eating chicken and pork and really trying to put that variety. We've been told our whole life, you need variety. And so I would eat, I'd go to Costco and get me one of those rotisserie chickens, or I would have like Boston butt. I'd have steak, I'd have hamburger, a lot of eggs, bacon, sausage. I was really trying to get a lot of variety in there because I thought that was going to be good. And I guess it worked fine. I had all my improvements while I was doing that. But I'm to the point now where for probably, maybe 2 months now, I've eaten nothing but beef, bacon, and eggs. Beef, butter, bacon, eggs, BB&E. And I didn't set out to do that. That was not like a challenge I gave myself. That's just kind of where I've landed. Sam's has the grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef for between $5.99 and $6.99 a pound. You got to buy 3 pounds in it. Hey, Karen. And so for $6.99 a pound, and that's because sometimes I find it on sale for $5.89, depending on what Sam's is doing that week. And I just buy that, and I either make hamburger patties or I make like ground beef, and I put sour cream and bacon and stuff like that in it. But I eat bacon and eggs every morning. And usually I eat 2 meals now. I've kind of settled on 2 meals, bacon and eggs for breakfast with 1 cup of coffee with some butter in it. And then for lunch, I'll have either the hamburger ground beef bowl with salt and sour cream in it. And I've been doing jalapenos lately, pickled jalapenos in it just for a little more flavor. Or I have the burger patties. And so for tonight I had burger patties and I dipped it in some kefir to get the probiotics and to get a little flavor. So for me, it's kind of boring now. I don't really have a lot to say. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And I eat that every single day. And somebody once told me, I think maybe Dr. Berry, or maybe it was Dr. Chafee, one of them said, the best seasoning for your food is hunger. If you're hungry, if you're really hungry, whatever you eat is going to taste good. So if you think, I don't want hamburger, or I don't want steak, I don't want chicken, you're really probably not hungry. You're probably more bored, because when I eat, I'm legitimately hungry. And even though I've eaten beef for going on 3 months in a row now, I still really enjoy it. So for me, a typical day of eating is not very varied anymore. It used to be. I used to try to get all the different stuff in, try the different recipes, but now it's just bacon and eggs for breakfast, beef for lunch, and I'm done.
That's an excellent point that you just made. I'm glad you made that, because sometimes people will be like, well, how do I know if I'm hungry? I think I am hungry. But I don't necessarily know. And that's just it. Like, if it doesn't really sound good, like saying like I'm going to eat hamburger or something like that, a burger patty or whatever, or if it just doesn't taste good, then you're probably not actually hungry. It's just your brain signals trying to tell you you're hungry when you really aren't. Excuse me. So for me, typical day kind of depends on 1 or 2 meals a day. Just because I try and go with when I really am truly hungry. And hold on 1 second here. Sorry. So, sometimes I get away with just eating 1 meal and I'm fine. Sometimes I need to eat 2 and I just kind of go with that. In fact, I was just interviewed by Dr. Tony Ampton, and it's going to be on his channel in like a week or so, I think. So be on the lookout for that. But we were just talking about this subject, and that was like kind of what I explained about how I eat and so forth. But I will say this. Most of the time I do eat beef, and I tend to feel my best when I eat beef. I do like to eat chicken, and I'll eat pork. I smoked I made some pulled pork that I smoked pork butt over the weekend. And I had some of that. So I've had that, but I truly feel my best when I eat beef. So the other piece of this is it really depends on what I have stocked in my fridge, my freezer. If I have steak stocked in my freezer, I'm going to have a steak every day. That's what my body wants to do. That's what my brain wants me to do. So I do that, right? If I don't have any steak left and I haven't gone to store, I'll probably have ground beef and eggs or something like that. And I'll do the same thing that Johnny does, where I might have some kefir or some yogurt, some good clean yogurt or cottage cheese, just for the gut stuff. So I'll do those types of things with a meal, but that's pretty much it. Like most of the time it's going to be beef. So I'm going to say typically it's beef. Yes, there are times I'll have chicken or pork, but it's typically beef. And it may be 1 or 2 times a day. Karen says she has a hard time breaking away from the 3 meals a day. Yeah,
That's okay. I think that people, you do what you're comfortable with. Like when I eat, Brian, I'll eat a pound of ground beef with like either the kefir, I may have some sauerkraut, or might have some cottage cheese. Like tonight I had some cottage cheese and I'm full, but that will last me. If it didn't, my big thing is, and I've said this a couple months ago, Brian, you and I were talking, I don't believe you can starve your way to health. I mean, if you're fasting for the sake of fasting, you're trying to do a specific fast, I get that. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't think it's healthy to be hungry. Some people don't have a stomach big enough to eat enough in one setting to carry them through. So, I was doing 1 meal a day forever, and now I've settled on 2 meals a day, but I haven't gained any weight. I still feel amazing. I'm still working out like crazy. So I think counting 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, maybe if you're trying to lose a specific amount of weight might be more important. But I think don't be hungry, because when I get really hungry, that's when the temptations get the better of me. So if I were, hungry 3 times a day, I'm going to eat carnivore 3 times a day and not apologize for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like if you're sitting there in the evening and you want like a bag of chips or something, just eat another carnivore meal and it's going to take care of that instead of eating the bad thing. Lamb says, even after over 6 years on carnivore, I sometimes am not sure if it's hunger or a craving. I completely relate to that. I'm over 3 years, so not quite as long, but it's the same thing for me sometimes. And that's why I said, like, I really like that you brought that up. Like, that is such a key thing. Does it sound good to you? If you start to eat it, does it taste good? Because if it doesn't, then you probably aren't really hungry. If you have to put a bunch of seasonings on it, you probably don't really need to eat right now.
Right.
Yep. So Rick, let's see. You started carnivore, he said when he was 15? Yeah, 15, right? Has he ever ate a bag of chips? Did he eat a bag of chips before he turned 15? That's what I want to know. Let us know, Rick, if you've ever had a bag of chips before. Oh, by the way, Karen just dropped in. She's the one that said that about eating 3 times a day. But
yeah.
Hello, Karen.
Hey, Karen, welcome. All right, Brian, I pulled another
Yeah.
one out. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes. Let's go.
All right, here's my next one here. Oh my gosh. If I start sweating, you guys will understand. If you watch my last video, this is going to make all the sense in the world. Because this past Sunday, in the interest of full transparency, Sunday night, I was getting off work, and one of our coworkers had come in and put a bunch of Oreo cookies, the little bags of the tiny little Oreos. They're like the size of a dime, but there's like 6 or 8 in a little bag, and the little Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies and Pringles potato chips and all these sodas. And she put it all on the table at our break room at work and said, "Help yourself, guys. We're trying to get the thing where we're celebrating everybody's birthday." Well, people have had birthdays all of last month and we didn't get to them. So she just brought all these snacks in, left them on the table and said, "Happy birthday to everybody from this month." And there was cake and cookies and all kinds of stuff. And I was going to stop and get something to eat on the way home. Wendy's probably. I was the only person in there. And those Oreo cookies were calling my name. They were saying, "Johnny, Johnny." And I started to walk out and I said, "Well, maybe just one bag, maybe just one bag." And so I need something to drink. And there was some ginger ale, the little 12-ounce ginger ales. And I ate 2 bags of the Oreo cookies and 2 of the ginger ale. They weren't diet ginger ale. They were 33 grams of sugar ginger ales. And I thought, I enjoyed the heck out of it for that 3.5 minutes it took me to choke that down. And I immediately hated myself. I said, "What in the world? Come on, man, you're better than this." And so I made a video about it. My video Monday, I talked about that. And I had a lot of great comments on my video saying, "Forgive yourself." The advice I give to everybody else is move on. It's in the past. You can't fix it. You can't undo it. You did it. But so what I did is the next day, I got up, I skipped breakfast, and I went and I worked out. I ran sprints uphill. If you watch my video, you'll see that. I'm here to tell you, Brian, those uphill sprints are killer. They're killer. Running uphill is much harder than running on flat ground. And I've been 100% perfect from then to now. So just got to forgive yourself, move on, and work really hard not to do that again. Because I think over time, everybody, maybe not Rick, and maybe a few others that are absolutely perfect, and God bless them, but every now and then, man, you're going to screw up. That temptation is going to hit you in the face. If you're an addict, if you're an alcoholic and somebody leaves a beer on the counter and you're the only one in the room, God bless you if you can walk past that and not pick it up and drink it. I am a sugarholic. We know that sugar is like 10 times more addictive than heroin, or 3 times more addictive than heroin. And this stuff was just laid right out in front of me, free of charge. Here it is. And I gave in to temptation. But I got to not beat myself up over it, move on, look forward, don't look back, and just make sure I don't do it again and just continue to work hard. For what it's worth, I didn't gain any weight. I weighed the exact same thing the next day. I weighed a pound less today, but it still probably knocked me out of ketosis, and it didn't do my body any good. But it's going to happen. People are going to mess up, Brian. Don't you agree? People are going to have slip ups.
Mm-hmm. So first thing I want to say is those hill sprints are no joke. When we go back to the Stone Ages, when I played sports in high school, that was one of the things we did, was run sprints uphill because of how challenging it is. We didn't have all the technology and equipment that they have today, so we had to run up, sprint up a hill. But okay, so here's my thing. Just because you messed up does not mean you're stupid. It does not mean you're a failure. It means you're human. We all make mistakes, and we all do things we shouldn't, like eat bad foods. Johnny gave his testimony here. You know who else? I keep bringing him up today. I don't know why, but Dr. Tony Hampton just had a video, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, where he said, "You know what? I didn't eat as much as I should have. I kind of skipped the lunch or whatever at work. I got home. I saw some stuff in the pantry. Next thing I know, I was eating popcorn and something else," he said. I can't remember what the other thing was. And his wife walked by and he hid it from her because he knew how wrong it was. Here's Dr. Tony Hampton, who's a doctor and knows better and makes mistakes, because he is a doctor, but he's also human, just like all of us. It's okay that you make those mistakes. What matters is how you respond. how Johnny just recently responded. How Dr. Tony Hampton responded in his video. He says, he talked to his wife about it and said, I'm sorry I hid this from you because I didn't want you to see. And he's like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to eat that again, that type of thing. But, how you respond to it, that's what matters. Realistically, when you start to fall off the wagon, one of two things can happen. Number one, you just keep going and sell yourself, well, I messed up. Or number two, you recognize that it's okay. I'm human. And I'm going back to it from right this moment, right now. I'm going back to what I was doing and I'm getting back on track. Those are one of the two things you can do.
All right. We'll grab another topic here.
Real quick.
Yeah, look at the comments, Brian, while I undo this. I'm sure we're missing some more comments there.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to say this real quick. Susan is here.
Hey, Susan.
And she told us about her eating. She usually eats 2 meals a day, intermittent fasting from supper or dinner, depending on what part of the country you're from, until 1 to 2 p.m. I'll do OMAD if I don't eat anything until 3 to 4 p.m. So there you go. Okay, let's see the next one.
All right. Oh, that's a good one, Brian. We just did this one 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think. Supplements on carnivore. We kind of touched on it a minute ago as far as like the probiotics, things for your gut, kefir, sauerkraut, cottage cheese. And by the way, Brian, I went yesterday. I was off yesterday. Not yesterday. A day before yesterday. I went to 3 different grocery stores and Walmart. Everywhere I went is completely sold out of every variety of good culture. I talked to the manager, the dairy manager or whatever at the food line. He said they can't keep it. It's just as fast as it comes in, it goes. So the 2%, the skim, the 4%, and they actually have the space for the double cream, the whole milk double cream, 100% sold out. So it's flying off the shelf. So people are catching on to what we're saying, Brian, about these microbiome, the cultures for your gut. But that's just one example of supplements. Brian, let's talk about some more supplements.
Yeah. So really quick about the cottage cheese. It's everywhere. It's like that. I found at my local Walmart that they get their shipments in on Friday. And if I go there Friday evening or Saturday morning, they have it in stock. By the end of the weekend, it's out until the next Friday. That is that serious. So I'll go there and I'll buy like 4 or 5 of them to last for like a week or so just to have them. But like when I eat like yogurt, cottage cheese and that, it's like just a little bit, like it's a condiment. So it's just a little bit to get. A little bit will give you literally like billions of live and active cultures into your body.
Yep.
And it's not like some people look at the thing in the good culture cottage cheese. It'll say there's 3 grams of carbs per serving, but I'm eating like maybe a quarter of a serving. So it's less than 1 gram, which is similar to the amount of carbs that's in eggs, by the way. So that's kind of how I do that. But anyway, okay. So in terms of nutritional supplements, the only thing I can really, really think of is vitamin D. If I'm not getting out a lot in the sun, like in the winter time, or if it rains several days in a row, I'll take some vitamin D supplementation. But the best thing is really just to get out in the sun, and I'll do that as much as I can. And I do take a little bit of fish oil because I probably don't eat enough salmon, seafood, stuff like that I should. Other than that, there's no nutritional supplements that I take. Now, I will say, and I talk about this sometimes, but I try not to talk about a lot because sometimes people get annoyed. But I will say that there are 2 other things that I will take that are not nutritional, but I believe that they enhance carnivore diet. One thing I actually have over here, this thing right here, Stem Enhance Ultra. So what it does, there goes my video again. What it does is it helps to release your stem cells that are in your body into your bone marrow to go throughout your body and do the things that it does to repair and replace cells in your body. And the other thing is this plasma flow, which the plasma flow actually helps blood circulation within your body and helps things like your stem cells and other nutrients and stuff like that to move throughout your body. So I will say that I do take those things, and I will really quickly, I'm going to put this on here just because I got to do it. But this is a way that you can actually get those products. So you can check it out. I'll leave that on there for a minute or two here while we're talking about this. But outside of that, that's about it for supplementation. Sometimes people ask me about electrolytes. If I'm really, really sweating outside, working really hard, or I do a workout that I sweat a lot, I might take a little bit. Otherwise, I don't really do anything there. I tend to eat a lot of salt on my food, which is one of the main electrolytes. So that tends to keep me pretty good. Meat has a good amount of magnesium in it. So I think I'm getting a good amount there. My levels, each time I've had them checked, seem to be pretty good. So that's kind of where I'm at with supplementation. So what about you, Johnny?
Well, as you know, Brian, about a month ago, I was out doing my sprints one day out in the hot sun, very humid day, and I was sweating really, really profusely, and I hadn't drank a lot of water, and I wasn't using any electrolytes. And I ended up in the emergency room, felt like I was going to pass out. A couple things I did wrong. One, I knew I was dehydrated. Two, I drank a cup of coffee on the way there, so it was a diuretic and a stimulant. Three, I was out in the direct sun. There were no trees anywhere. And four, it was the most humid day we've had in the whole year. So between then and now, I ordered some of the unflavored LMNT. I'm not sponsored. That's just a product that I buy. And I know Salty makes a good one too. I've used both of them. So I just got some unflavored electrolytes. I put about a half a pack in my water. Brian taught me not too long ago about putting salt like under your tongue or putting salt in your mouth and then drinking water. Of course, I use Redmond's real salt, so it's the mineralized salt. And I salt my food a great deal. I will say one other thing, O'Brien, about the vitamin D. I'm like you. I try to get as much natural vitamin D as I can from sunshine. The other thing is K2. You need to take, if you take a vitamin D3 supplement, you really need to take it with K2, because if you take vitamin D3 by itself, it actually, it actually pulls bone marrow. It actually pulls potassium or whatever out of your bones. So D3 with K2. And it wouldn't hurt to take with some magnesium too. But if you eat a lot of meat, you probably get enough magnesium. But I would not take D3 without having the D3 K2 part. I've seen a couple of videos recently from some experts, some health people that say you really need those two things together.
Guess what? Those fermented foods that we were talking about for your gut, like cottage cheese, have K2 in them.
Oh, that's right.
So you don't have to take the supplement. You can take those instead. And
of course, K is potassium. You remember the periodic table of the elements from the 8th grade? K is potassium. And so K2 is just a form of potassium that's very bioavailable. All right, let's grab another topic, Brian.
Okay.
We're flying through them. And we may not get to all of them. We're an hour and 3 minutes, but yeah, magnesium glycinate. That's what I was taking, Susan. I actually just got me something called it's a different type of magnesium. It's a liquid magnesium, choroidal. I can't remember the name of it. Magnesium that is just a liquid. I started taking it this morning, actually. So this is carnivore and exercise. Is it necessary?
Oh, they were just talking about exercise in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll start on this one because this is my wheelhouse. It's not necessary to do a lot of exercise on carnivore if your only goal is to reduce inflammation and maybe lose some weight. But I think for me, my energy levels went up so much once I got fat adapted, because remember, fat has 9 calories per gram. Carbs and protein only have 4 calories per gram. So if you have a high fat diet, you have more calories, and calories are just a measure of energy. All they are is how much energy is in something. So once I got completely fat adapted, I couldn't sit still and I couldn't sleep. So I started working out. I started running. I was doing 5Ks about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. I was doing 5Ks. And then I ran across Dr. Sean O'Mara, and he talks about sprinting, how it can help reduce visceral fat in the body. So I thought I would try it. And now I've fallen in love with sprinting. I'm doing a lot of squats. I'm lifting very heavy weight. Keep in mind, guys, I'm 58 and a half years old. I'll be 60 in a year and a half. And I'm working out harder now than I've ever worked out. And It came in real handy at my job the other day. Let me tell you this, Brian. Saturday, I guess it was Sunday, where I had to take a patient home from the hospital. The guy weighed almost 300 pounds. He was 71 years old, type 2 diabetic. He'd had a stroke, and he had a bunch of steps at his house, and we had to get him up the stairs into his house. Well, the stretcher that we use has a hydraulic system, lift system built into it, and the stretcher weighs 165 pounds by itself. So there was no way to really use a stretcher to get the guy in the house. So we have a special chair called a stair chair. And so my partner I was working with that day, super nice guy, but he's really, really small frame guy. He's a marathon runner. He's a college student. He's a senior in college, but he likes to run distance. So his arms are like this big around because he runs marathons. He's a pre-med student. He's studying to be a doctor, but he wasn't a lot of help to lift. So I had to grab this guy. The stair chair weighs about 40 pounds. The guy weighed right at 300. So it's like 340 pounds. And I had to walk backwards up a set of stairs to get him into his house. We would have struggled with that a lot 3 or 4 months ago. But now that I'm doing so much lower body stuff, so much leg work and core work, I was actually able to grab this guy, lifted him up, and I walked up 4 steps. And these were some pretty high steps. They were like somebody hadn't built these steps. They weren't made. And I got him in the house with no problems. And I didn't lean left or right. And it felt really good to know I had the confidence to help this guy who was 50 pounds heavier than me. And I carried him up 4 steps backwards. I don't think I could have done that outside of all the exercise that I'm doing. And the only reason I'm doing exercise is because with Carnivore, I feel like exercising. And it's one of those things, and I know I'm getting long-winded, but it's one of those things, the more exercise I do, the more I want to do. It's that Newton's law of motion. You know, things in motion tend to stay in motion. So is exercise necessary? I don't think it is, but man, it sure is beneficial. All right, Brian, I'll shut up now.
Okay. I want to go back to something because I want to make sure that we're giving out correct information. And Lambs is right here. Vitamin K actually is not potassium. Vitamin K is a vitamin. Potassium is a mineral. But your body has trouble absorbing vitamin K if you don't have enough potassium in your body.
Yeah, so I knew it was something like that.
Little clarification there.
Yeah, my bad. I'm
okay.
sorry.
So I like this too. Exercise once you're able to. And here's the thing, like, do you really need to exercise? That question is going to depend on your activity level. So I'll take myself. I sit at a computer all day for work. Then I'm probably in the evening going to be sit there working on a YouTube video, sitting again, and so forth. I'm not very active. So I need to find time to exercise, right? Because here's the thing, you don't use your muscles, you lose them, right? Especially as you're getting older. Might not notice as much when you're younger, but as you get older, you're not using your muscles, you lose them. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to specifically do certain things like Johnny does and like I try to do, but I've been horrible with lately. But, you know, if you're an active person, let's take Rick. He's very active. He's riding his bike every day. He's doing all kinds of stuff, right? He's very active. He's had videos out there before about doing trimming bushes at somebody's house, and you know he does work with AC and electrical and all that stuff, and he's active. So maybe that's all you need to do. It kind of depends on your activity level. Now, I will say that as you age, building or maintaining muscle is very important. So maybe if you're not very active, you should do some kind of weightlifting, some walking. Maybe if you want to get into sprinting, that's a good thing, that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of times you see people that are older and they're tend to get frail. Their bones aren't as good. Their muscle tone is down and so forth. And all they do is sit all day long. And that's just feeding into that even more. So you got to be active somehow. Even if you're saying like me, maybe what I need to start doing is every hour, get up and walk around for a little bit at work, right? Maybe that's what I need to do. I want to work out more than I actually do. I just don't do a good job of it. I'll just say a lot of times I just come up with an excuse that I'm busy with this or that, and I don't do it. So that's my own fault. That's my problem. but working out to an extent is good. I'm not saying you should try and be a bodybuilder because that's not necessarily healthy either. You want to build muscle, but you don't necessarily have to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the 80s, right? So that's my take with the working out. Let's see. Yeah, so Rick is saying that he works physically every day.
Yep.
And that works for people. If you think about it, like probably 50, 100 years ago, like everybody was active like that, right? So you didn't have to make time to work out necessarily like they did back then. Susan says, I don't exercise, but I try to move and walk around as much as I can during the day. That's a great thing. But I lost 190 pounds without exercising. I used to be in a wheelchair most of the time, 5 to 7 years ago. Yep. And I've heard that story from you before, Susan. That is great. You've accomplished so much. That is great. Now, I have kind of been the same way, and I know other people that have done the same thing. They lost a lot of weight without doing really any exercise at all. The interesting thing is, at some point, you might stop losing weight if you're not very active. And to an extent, you might not gain weight if you're eating the wrong foods because you're exercising. So exercise has a good thing there. Now, it doesn't mean that your body inside is not getting unhealthy, because if you're eating the wrong foods, you could be doing damage inside your body, but you could still lose weight. And that's the other thing I think is we got to retrain ourselves. And I say it all the time too. And I have to retrain myself to stop talking about losing weight. And what is it I really want to get rid of? It's the body fat, right? It's that excess fat. And I want to get healthy. It's not necessarily weight, because you know what? A pound of French fries weighs the same as a pound of steak. But which one do you think is healthier for you? If you put a pound of something into your body, you're going to weigh a pound more for a particular amount of time, at least, until your body does whatever it does with that food and so forth. But you're still going to gain a pound from that, right? If you eat that steak, it's healthier food. You're going to feel healthier. You're going to be healthier. Might take time, but that's going to happen. That's what it's about. It's really about health, and it's about losing that body fat. Now, how do I tie this all back in? Guess what really helps your health and body fat? Working out. And something Johnny likes to do, sprinting. I don't sprint. I need to, but I don't. But that is great for getting rid of body fat. What other comments do we got here?
Cynthia says she has her watch set to go off every hour to remind her to get up and move.
Is that the one I just clicked on, or is it a different one? Okay.
That's a different one, yeah.
I think you need to heal first, then the desire to move comes. Yep. That's the other thing too. Like when I first started the carnivore diet, I didn't even think about working out because I was so big and unhealthy that I needed to get healthy. You really do need to look at that sometimes. Yep. Where was her? I'm probably just not there. There's
9/11. Right above Rick's on 9/11.
Yeah, here we go.
I'll say real quick. So she's got her watch set. You can do that, Brian. Set your alarm or something for every hour. Get up and go walk around the block or walk around the house or something. If it fits in with your work schedule.
Just two.
Yeah. And that was my point, Rick, from earlier. So to really drive home Brian's point, before I got healthy, before I went carnivore, my plantar fasciitis in my feet and my arthritis in my right hip, there was almost, I couldn't do, I might maybe had lifted some dumbbells with my hands, but I couldn't do anything else. I was in such poor health. I think it would have been dangerous for me to try a lot of exercise prior to getting healthy. So to Brian's point, and to Susan's point too, and most people get healthy. Carnivore, everyone thinks it's a weight loss diet, and I guess for some it is, but it's really an ancestrally appropriate diet to get your body healthy, because there are people on the carnivore diet, and everybody on this platform probably knows people that were underweight and maybe had eating disorders, and they went carnivore and they actually gained weight, which was their intent. And a lot of the weight they gained was probably muscle and bone tissue, right? Bone marrow, and which weighs more than fat. So I don't think this is necessarily a weight loss diet, although I lost right at 100 pounds. Brian's lost over 80 pounds, and Susan's lost 190 something pounds. I mean, everybody has that story, but it's more about giving your body the nutrients it needs to thrive. I'll say one last thing about exercise. People can not exercise, and I'm not downing the people that don't exercise, but when you're 80 years old, you want to be able to get up off the toilet by yourself. And if you don't exercise, if you don't build those muscles as you age into your 70s and 80s, which hopefully we all will, you're going to want to be able to get up out of a chair, get out of bed, and get up off the toilet without having somebody help you. And all the carnivore in the world is not going to make that happen. You still have to move your body. You still have to build the skeletal muscle, not the beauty, not the guns, but the skeletal muscle to be able to move and have balance and be steady when you're 80 years old. So a lot of what I do is not for me now. It's not for Johnny at 58 years old. I'm doing what I'm doing for Johnny at 88 years old. I just have to start now. And that's all I got to say.
Real quick at this comment here from Susan. And this is, a legit thing. Now, what's interesting is if you have arthritis, usually the way to help your arthritis is to actually exercise, but that can be very difficult to do with arthritis. And it could be that her arthritis is so bad that she just can't do that. But you know what you can do, Susan? You can do little dumbbells of some kind and do arm curls, shoulder presses, stuff like that. Just different things like within your arms, body weight type of things, just things to improve that part of your body. You could also do, potentially, if you're able to do this, knee push-ups, so you're not putting pressure on that ankle. So those are just some things to think about. Yeah. You could possibly do.
All right. Our next category, Brian, are you ready? This one here, and we've kind of covered this, but we'll hit on it briefly, is carnivore is dangerous to your health. There's a million videos on YouTube out there where people saying carnivores are going to die. Carnivore is crazy. If you watch mainstream media when they had Dr. Barry on there, carnivore for kids, that's crazy. Their kids are going to die. Carnivore is bad for you. Brian said earlier, and then I reiterated what Brian said, there's no way you'll ever convince me. I don't think the science bears it out that something that's so good for you and so healthy for you and can reverse so many medical problems can all of a sudden arbitrarily become bad for you. It makes no sense whatsoever. What do you think, Brian?
Well, the first thing is I don't trust really any study out there at all. There's not a legitimate study either supporting or going against any type of diet, including carnivore, because there's not a good way to do a trial, a proper study and trial on humans. They can do whatever on rats. We're not rats. Mice. We're not mice, right? You're going to have certain trials and things, studies that they can do, and it's going to be self-reported by that person because they can't do the type of study that really needs to be done to really prove anything. So there's nothing that you can prove through studies, right? You just got to go with what you think is right for you and do the research you can based on, what science does tell you, like about cholesterol, how cholesterol is used in the body and so forth, and make the best decision for yourself. Personally, I think that it's, like Johnny said, it's completely ridiculous to think that so many people can heal issues that they got from eating differently, and then all of a sudden it's bad for you. It just does not make any sense at all. It does not make any sense when you look at people like Rick, Maggie up in Canada, Kelly Hogan, these people that have done this way of eating for years and years and years. That really tells you that when people are telling you that carnivore is dangerous, that it's not, you know. But you have to make the decision yourself. And if somebody comes out there decides, you know what, I've looked at things, I don't think it's right for me, that's fine. I'm not going to try and force them into anything, you know. But I don't believe that it really is dangerous. I think that there's enough experiences in the past, going back years and years, thousands of years, to the way that people ate. And that's what I believe.
I agree.
I have no idea what's going in chat.
People asking
Going steady.
People asking Rick how many heart attacks a day does he have? So while he looks for the comments there, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the next topic. Carnivore is too restrictive.
1, 2.
Oh yeah, there you go. Chair yoga. That's a good one after knee surgery. That's a great one.
Oops.
And then that Cynthia.
Yeah.
Cynthia had one.
We shape. This is for exercise geared for where you're at. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Thank you, Cynthia, for bringing that. Susan, check that out. That means it's a free week. So, I mean, why not take advantage of that? It might work, it might not, but it's free. So check it out. So I'm going to go real quick. The next topic was, if you guys just saw, carnivore is too restrictive. For me personally, what was restrictive was when I was eating the standard American diet, I couldn't tie my shoes. My wife, at 56 years old, I had to get my wife to tie my shoes. I couldn't stand up without holding on to something. I had a hard time getting in and out of my own car to get to work. Just activities of daily living, just getting dressed, getting out of the shower, everything was very, very hard. So let's talk about restrictive. Living like that in my mid-50s was very restrictive. And yeah, so maybe I can't eat the Doritos and the Fritos and the Little Debbie cakes and all that stuff. Maybe that seems too restrictive, but like I'm going to run sprints again tomorrow, uphill sprints. I'm doing push-ups. I went to the gym today. I worked out hard at the gym today. My wife and I went for a long walk we went for 2-mile walks last week. I can tie my own shoes. There's nothing that I want to do that I can't do. I mean, there's nothing. So I think you have to think about which would you rather have, too restrictive of diet or too restrictive of a life. So that's my 2 cents on carnivore is too restrictive.
So Rick's got this question here. How can you not tie your own shoes from being obese? Now, that and trimming your toenails.
Yeah.
It is difficult because you've got this big stomach sitting there and you're trying to get down to there and your leg might be big. You're trying and sore and you're trying to bring your leg up. Trust me, it can be very, very difficult. So here's the thing. I kind of lost track again. This is what happens when we're taking these questions just out of the blue and not really. So we were talking about restrictive. Okay. So, the thing here for me is that it's hard for me to relate to the whole idea of restrictiveness because I'm the type of person that said, wait a minute, you're telling me I can eat steak every day? I can eat steak and eggs every day? Like, yeah, sign me up. I love doing that stuff. So for me, it's hard to understand the whole idea of it's too restrictive. But I'm also a person that likes to have habits and I like to do a lot of the same things, right? So eating the same foods does not bother me either. I like those foods. I really like those foods. Like I'm like excited that I can eat those foods. So I have a hard time with the whole restricted thing. But I completely agree with your point. Like, you know what else was restricting for me was worrying about if I was going to bleed out. So I couldn't go on certain hikes and stuff where there was like a lot of steep mountainy areas because I was on a blood thinner because I had AFib. I don't have that now because I eat basically the same thing all the time. So I don't have to take that blood thinner either.
A couple more, Brian, a couple more. Uh-oh, I dropped that one. And Rick, part of the reason I couldn't move, one was I was obese, and two, because I was so sedentary that I lost my flexibility. And I was sedentary because I was so fat. So here's a great one. I want to talk about this one, Brian. I'll let you go first, but I got something to say about this. Unexpected improvements on Carnivore. So obviously weight loss would be one of the things you would expect to do on Carnivore, but what are some other things that people have reported that got better on Carnivore that maybe you weren't expecting? Brian, you were just touching on AFib.
Yeah. One thing, well, I will say I was hoping AFib would get better. I did not expect that I'd be sitting here saying I have been over 3 years without a single episode. That's amazing to me. But one other thing that I can say is I didn't go into Carnivore thinking that I was going to stop snoring because of it. But really quick, like in a week or two, my wife was like, you know what? You don't snore anymore. It's just gone. And I didn't expect that. I used to snore quite a bit. My dad snored a lot too. You know, the whole, what do they say? It's genetics. Well, if you eat poorly, maybe it is. But if you eat healthy, I stopped snoring. But I didn't expect that. That's a crazy thing for me. That's one of the big things, I think. Of course, we talked about the AFib. Again, I was hoping it would get better. I didn't think it was going to turn out as well as it has for me. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little things, you know, like a lot of the aches and pains. Like I talked before, I had arthritis in my big toes. I hoped it would get better, that I'd have like less inflammation and stuff like that. Did not expect it to be where I have no issues at all. Like that was unexpected to me. So those kinds of things. So what do you got, Johnny?
Well, for me, the reason I went Carnivore, if you guys have paid attention to my story at all, you know that I had plantar fasciitis in my feet so bad that I could almost not even walk anymore. Life was just miserable. And so I thought if I went on Carnivore and I lost a bunch of weight, losing the weight would help the plantar fasciitis. But 2 weeks after I started Carnivore, I'd only lost 5 or 6 pounds. And the plantar fasciitis was just, I woke up one day and it was gone. And from that day to now, it hadn't come back. I haven't had not even even when I messed up like I did last Sunday, I haven't had a tinge, nothing of plantar fasciitis. I had no idea that was connected to my diet. And that was an amazing surprise. 2 other ones I'll talk about real quickly. Does anybody watching, Susan, Cynthia, you guys know about floaters? Brian, you know what floaters are in your eyes?
Your eye, yeah.
Like you kind of see these little bubbles when you look up something. Well, I had those really bad. I kind of learned to deal with them. I've had them since I was in my mid 40s. And and it took me a while to realize that I don't have floaters anymore. Now, my vision hasn't really got better. And my eye doctor, my last appointment said my vision has declined a little bit, but I don't have floaters anymore. And so that went away. So that was a surprise. But the other thing was, for a couple of years, I had been dealing with stupid toenail fungus. I have bought every over-the-counter, remedy, the pads, the drops, everything. I had such bad toenail fungus that I would not go without shoes on anywhere because it's so embarrassing. My nails were thick and yellow and they look almost inhuman. And now my toenails look like I just had a pedicure. I mean, they look amazing, better than they did, as good as they did when I was a teenager. And I had no idea that all those years of buying all those stupid products, the little pads and I ordered stuff off Amazon. I went to the drugstore trying to find anything that would help with this toenail fungus. And it's completely gone and it hadn't come back. So that was something I didn't expect. Toenail fungus, floaters in my eyes, and then the plantar fasciitis. I did have really bad arthritis in my right hip, but I knew if I got the inflammation out that my hip would get better. My right hip feels perfect. I wish I'd have found this before I spent all the money and time having my left hip replaced, because I have an artificial left hip. My right hip on x-ray actually looked worse than my left hip, but my left hip hurt worse. So they did that one first. I was eventually going to have the right one done, but it never hurts. So I don't know why I would have something fixed that's not broken. If you guys watch me run sprints and do squats and stuff, I'm obviously not having any trouble with my hips anymore. And all that just from changing what I put in my mouth. I saw somebody put on there about depression, Brian. It helped help the depression. Yeah.
They started out to get rid of depression. Side effect was losing 45 pounds and improving their vision.
Amazing.
I want to touch on something Rick said.
Sure.
It really is amazing that you guys had so many health issues when you were younger than me. You know, there's been a lot of people I went to high school with that are no longer alive. They've passed away, many of them because of health issues, heart attacks, whatever. Somebody I know had complications from diabetes, that kind of thing. It's really scary how bad our health is. And I'm telling you, a lot of it has to do with what we are eating. And also, you know, with technology, we tend to not be as active as we used to be. And that makes you decay faster. So you age faster. But yeah, you got something you want to add here, Johnny? Because you see all the people in the nursing home that are younger than us.
Yeah. Right? Like I said in my video, Brian, you may not have got a chance to watch it, but last week I took a 36-year-old guy, 36. I have a 36-year-old daughter. I took a 36-year-old guy to a doctor's appointment from the nursing home. He had his right foot amputated, type 2 diabetic, morbidly obese. He was 400 pounds. Super nice guy, just a sweet guy. You believe how unbelievably nice this guy was. But we had to take him to an appointment, and now they're going to have to take off another section of his right leg from diabetic complications. His kidneys were beginning to fail. He was getting ready to go on dialysis, and he's going blind. He's 36. We took him back to his room at the facility where he's staying right now because he can't go home. And there was 3 cases of Coke, Sprite, and Pepsi that somebody brought him. There was Nutty Bars, Little Debbie cakes, cheese crackers, all this stuff just stacked up in the room. That's his snacks. And he looked me in the eye and he said, "The doctors have no idea why I'm so sick. They don't know what's going on with me." And it took everything in me to say, throw this garbage out and start eating real food, and you can reverse a lot of this. I have to be really careful what I say on my job because it's not approved by the ADA. I could lose my job and then I can't buy meat. But I told the guy, I said, start counting your carbs, try to reduce your carbohydrates as much as you can. Start with that and really read food labels before you eat anything. So I tiptoed around it, but I'm seeing people in their 40s. Rick, you have to understand, Rick and I are really close to the same age, as I've said many times. But I was sick. I started getting really, really sick at like 42 years old. At 42, I was really beginning to decline from a health standpoint. And it was just getting worse. Now, at the time, I was working 7 at night to 7 in the morning. So I worked nights. I would go by Bojangles, get a couple of biscuits and a sweet tea, eat it, and then go to bed and sleep. And I did that basically every day. I worked a ton of overtime to try to make ends meet. But my health really went downhill when I got away from a normal circadian rhythm of being up in the day and sleeping at night and then eating just garbage food. And so that's what happened, Rick, even though, I was 15 years younger then than I am now. Now I'm the healthiest I've been probably since middle school right now. And that's not an exaggeration. All right, Brian, you ready for the last category?
Let's go for it.
And if you guys had a chance to watch Brian put out a video earlier today. I don't know when you recorded it, Brian, but you put it out today and I watched it. And Brian was talking about how to not mess up on the carnivore diet. And what he said was, and this is one I came up with before I watched your video, is what is your why? Why are you doing carnivore? And what will it take to help you maintain carnivore? And Brian, you did just an unbelievably great video. I love your videos, by the way, on this topic today. And it was heartfelt and it was well researched. And so I'm gonna let you answer that question. What is your why? What does that have to do with carnivore? What is your why?
So I talk about a why so much that this has really put me on the spot because I don't remember what I said in this particular video because I talk about it a lot. Sure. And I think I recorded this video like 3 or 4 days ago, but I'm guessing I was just talking about having a very important why that's very personal to you, that kind of thing. Cause I talk about that a lot. So here's a good thing to look at. When you look, there's not really anything that's going to give you percentages of people that have failed doing a particular diet, and it doesn't have to be carnivore, it can be any diet that failed it because they didn't have a why. Okay, you're not going to find anything like that. But what you are going to find, most people that failed at doing something, if you talk to them and you ask them what was their why, they're either going to look at you like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what a why is. Or they're going to say something that isn't a very good personable why for them. Something like maybe because I needed to lose weight, because I needed to be healthy, because I needed to lose 20 pounds, something to that effect. So here's a problem with saying my why is to lose 20 pounds. You lose 20 pounds, what happens? You probably stop doing it, right? Because that's a goal. That's a goal, which is good to have. And it's good to celebrate those goals those milestones, those goals when you hit them. But that's a goal. That's not a why. If it's a good why, you're going to be able to continue to go to try and achieve it. So I'll give you my why. My why is that I want to be healthy for my children, watch them grow up, get married, have kids of their own, be able to be a grandpa and play with the kids on the floor, again, being healthy, grow old with my wife. As we retire, be able to go out and do things activity-wise, right? Be active. And I need to be healthy for that. So that's my why. It's very personable to me, right? It's a very personal thing. And it's very strong for me, right? Like it's a passionate thing for me. And the other key to it is you tell yourself every day, remind yourself of your why. Remind yourself out loud. I know you're telling me that's crazy. People are going to say, why are you talking to yourself? Just do it when nobody else is around. Remind yourself first thing in the morning when you wake up, or at night right before going to bed, whatever it is. If you know that you're going into a situation where you're going to have all kinds of temptation, remind yourself of your why before you do it, before you go into that situation. It's going to help you to be stronger. You say that why out loud. I don't think I said this in the video, but you write it down as well. That's going to help with memory. And that's going to help to make it more of something that you just do and you know, right? But you got to have that passion with it. You got to have that really good why. Sure, you can have goals and you can celebrate those goals, those milestones and so forth. But that why needs to be important. And I'm not saying that you're not going to be successful if you don't have that why, because there are people that are able to be successful. But if you have failed at it, you're struggling at it, ask yourself if you have that why, that really strong why. And I'll kick it over to you, Johnny.
Well, that's great, Brian. And that's essentially what you said in the video. You said, you talked about goals, milestones, things that I'm going to put it this way. I'm a big NASCAR guy. I live here in Charlotte, and I used to race in NASCAR. And, at the end of the race, they would throw the checkered flag. So the race was over. So I think if you set a goal to lose 20 pounds, when you lose 20 pounds, the race is over. The goal, you've accomplished your goal. Well, most people would pull into the pits. The race is over. And a lot of people, more often than not, I think would probably put that 20 pounds back on because it wasn't a mission. It was a very specific beginning and end. So Brian, it sounds to me like there's no finish line for you. The finish line is living a good life. And then when you take your last breath, boom, that's the finish line. But between now and then, because you and your wife are fixing to celebrate 28 years, you got 2 daughters getting ready to get married, you're going to have grandkids hopefully soon. You realize that all of that is part of life. So you have a mission as opposed to a goal. You have a why, a true why. And I think that's one thing that I struggle with personally is I've kind of hit all my whys, except for I still have AFib. If I can get rid of AFib, then I don't know what I'll do. but I feel so good. I'm working out. I don't have any pain ever. I don't remember what pain feels like in my body. And so I guess when I'm tempted to slip up, and maybe in my subconscious, I'm thinking, well, I've already hit the finish line. I'm everywhere I ever wanted to be. This is better than I ever imagined life could be at 58 years old. So maybe I need to reevaluate and redo my why and think about, the next 32 years with my wife, because we're getting ready to celebrate 32 years of marriage. So maybe I need to readjust mine and make it more of a mission as opposed to a goal. So anyway.
Yeah, I really like that. Like, goals are important, and they are important to celebrate them when you accomplish them. But I think the why should be something more passionate, more personable, and something that you keep trying to achieve. That's my take on it. Mike, this is great. I go back to the first comment I did put up here. He turned 56 in April and found out about Carnivore in March. At 55, he was diagnosed with prediabetes and AFib, arrhythmia, hypertension. He's 100 pounds overweight. Carnivore helped him lick all of this. Congratulations, Mike. That is awesome.
Yep. Another living example of this fact that this works so well.
Susan, her why: I was so sad and depressed. I also wanted to be here for my 4 daughters and grandchildren. See, that's something that's very personable, and she's passionate about her daughters and her grandchildren. And of course, not wanting to be depressed. That's great why. Yes, you are a rock star.
Susan absolutely is a rock star. So is Rick, and so is Cynthia, and so is Mike and Peter. They're all rock stars in my book.
I was tired of being in pain and being barely able to do anything.
That's where
Cynthia,
I was.
my why changed. And this is okay too. If your why changes, that's fine. When I first started, it was to lose weight, and I did lose weight, but my why is the mental healing. I don't ever want to be that pitiful again.
Yep. Oh, Brian, I think you froze up there, buddy.
Oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay, my internet went out. It came back up pretty quick. That was fast.
That's good. Yeah.
I was like, oh, where was I? Oh, so Rick trying to break the 200-pound barrier. Susan says, thank you both very much. I appreciate that. So many would have given up and done nothing, but you pulled yourself up and look how far you've come. Yep. Totally agree. I'd freeze yourself. I wish I could. I looked up and I'm like, wait a minute, my screen went black. Wait, so did Johnny's. And then I looked down. Wait, my internet connection's out. What happened? Oh no. Oh, I think I'm caught up in comments though. I think that was our last one, wasn't it?
Yep, that was our last comment.
Last topic.
Our last topic.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about next week, because we haven't actually talked about it personally too much, but I am not going to be available because I'm going out of town. So I'm going on vacation. I may see if I can stop in and say hello, but that might be about it.
Okay.
So are you still having a live stream then next
I'm
week?
going to do it. Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll see if I can get somebody to join me. I think I got an idea who I can get. I'll have to reach out to that person. I don't want to put him on the spot, or him or her on the spot. But between now and then, I'll reach out to that person. I'll be here, and hopefully I'll have a special guest with me, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Okay. So that's the 24th.
Right.
The week after that, October 1st. Are we prepared to talk about that? You think?
Yeah. I talked to my wife about it. Yeah, we're all in.
All right. Well, why don't you give us details on what's going to happen on October 1st?
You guys watch next week. I'll have a special guest on next week. But the following week, October 1st, that Wednesday, Brian and I are going to do the Real Talk with Brian and Johnny live together. I'm actually traveling. My wife and I are going to go to Brian's house. We're going to spend part of the day with Brian and his wife. I think Brian will cook a few steaks or something on your grill or on your pellet grill, right? Your new pellet grill. And I'm going to try to get Brian to do some sprints. I'm going to take all my sprint stuff up there. There is a park right around the corner from Brian's house. And if I can get Brian to at least do a couple jogs, maybe a little bit of sprint, and just maybe he'll let me lift some of the weights at his house or whatever. But we're going to do a video together. Probably he'll put a video on his channel, and I'll put a very similar video on my channel. And then that night, Real Talk with Brian and Johnny, we're going to do it from where Brian's sitting right there. I'll be sitting next to him. So really, really excited about that. Brian and I, we've been friends for a couple of years. We've never actually met in person. So this is going to be kind of cool.
So I do have to figure out how we're going to do this because I got to show you something. Let's see. Did it work? Did it work? Did it work? No. Hold on. How do I do this? Wait a minute. There's got to be a way to do this. Okay. I'll just do this. No, we'll go this way.
Okay.
Look at that. My screen just changed.
There you go. Yeah.
That is this that you're seeing back here. That really is my family room, by the way. But I am not in my family room. I am in my basement. And I'm not sure how to get rid of the green screen to show you, but there's literally just a green screen right here. Stops right here behind me. And there's a very small section here. So I got to figure out how we're going to do this. We may go into a different room or something and figure out how to do it, but we got to figure that all out. But we are going to be live together. So that's what's going to be cool. I just got to figure out some of the details there. And yes, we're going to watch Johnny destroy me in a sprint because I haven't sprinted in a long time. I have to actually try and maybe do a few so I don't hurt myself. I'll have to definitely warm up before we actually do the real sprint. Yeah. And I got to admit, like, I was doing really good with exercise back May, June timeframe. I've done like one workout since then. So my workouts have been terrible. So Johnny's going to do circles around me when we do that collab. But anyway, I need to go to a question here from Cynthia. How is Greg doing? Are you still in touch with him? Yes, I am. We don't necessarily talk all the time, but we do text a lot. And I tell you, he's doing pretty good. He's working on getting back into things because he had a lot of stresses, you might remember, with his mother and so forth, with her passing and all that. And he did gain some weight. So he's working on getting back on track with that kind of stuff. He's also very busy. He went through, I believe both daughters got married in the same year, which I'm going to have next year. So it's funny. But so he went through that. He moved. He's now getting ready to move into a new house. So he's got that going on. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. But he's doing good. He's got season tickets. If you're into football, like, we see the low carb football party, he's got season tickets for Iowa State University, and he's been going to their home games, and he's been sending me some pictures and stuff when they're at the games. So it's pretty cool. So yes, Greg and I definitely keep in touch. It's funny because this way of eating kind of brought us together, and I feel like we've developed a good friendship. And even though we're not doing a show together or anything, we still talk all the time and stuff. It's great. So yeah, that's good. He's doing good. And just like the thing with Johnny and I, right? We're going to meet up and do some stuff together. I would have never have known who Johnny was, never met him or anything, if it wasn't for this way of eating, this community, and so forth. That's one of the cool things about this community, isn't it? That you get to meet people like this. So.
And I don't know if Cynthia knows this, but I actually met Greg. I actually went to Greg's house when he lived up in northern Iowa. I actually went up there and met him. He and his wife had a full basement, so he let me spend the night there. I was driving a truck at the time, and I slept in their basement. So I got to know Greg and his wife. We ate supper together, had a good conversation, ate breakfast together, and then I had to go back and get on my truck. But so Greg I've met, I guess, a couple of carnivores. If you guys remember Brett, Hoosier Carnivore, I had a chance to meet Brett, and I spent some time with Greg. And Greg comments on my videos, and he and I on Facebook a little bit. But Greg has had a million things going on. 2 daughters get married, changed jobs. His wife changed jobs. She had been with the bank up there in Iowa for years and years and years. So she left there and started a new job. He started a new job. They're building a house. So I feel like I'm occupying Greg's seat. If everyone wants to come back, I'll move over. But Greg is a fantastic guy. I love him to death. I'm so glad that I got to meet him in person. He and his wife are amazing. And I can't wait to meet Brian. Brian will be I met some people at a carnivore meetup, but actually meet other YouTubers like Greg, and now going to meet Brian in 2 weeks. That's pretty exciting stuff. But I love Greg to death. He's a big inspiration to me. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention he got to go to the College World Series this past summer because he lives out there now.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
He's in Nebraska. Isn't he in Nebraska?
Yeah, he's near Omaha.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, it was a bit of a change for him, but we talked probably on the show before when it was Greg and I know he had videos about it, that he's really into fishing. I liked fishing too. He gets to go fishing sometime. It's funny. Like sometimes I'll be sitting there watching football game or something, and I get a text and I look and it's Greg sending me a picture of some big fish he caught. I'm just like, oh man, I wish I was out fishing right now. So it's funny. Oh, look at this. Karen is from the same city that Greg is from. That's cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember he was from a really small town in Iowa. I can't remember the name of it, but he's out by Omaha now. So,
yeah.
Oh, so he lives close to Cynthia, about an hour.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
Excuse me.
Well, that's really, really cool. Small world, right?
Yeah, it is. All right, so that kind of takes you through the next 2 weeks, right? Johnny's going to be on. I'll see if maybe I can stop in for a few minutes and say hi. There you go, Mason City, that Iowa. That's where he was from. Where he lived pretty much his entire life, and then they made the move. Yeah. So anyway, so Johnny will be on next week, potentially with a guest, and then the following Wednesday we're gonna have the live stream together. We're gonna do the workout and everything earlier in the day, record that, and so it'll be fun. And we'll go from there. Again, I'm gonna be on vacation, getting 28 years of marriage here. Johnny, you said you're a week or 2 weeks?
1 week. So
1 week.
The 25th will be our anniversary on the 25th. So
okay. So your anniversary is the 25th. Mine is the 26th. That is so funny.
Yeah.
1 day apart.
1 day apart. Yeah.
So you'll be 32 years. I'll be at 28 years. There you go. 60 years of marriage between the two of us with our wives. Crazy.
It's amazing they put
up
with us.
So that's what we got coming up. So definitely tune in next week. And I'm probably even though I won't necessarily be at the live next week, I'm still putting videos out Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. I'm already working. I think I've just recorded Monday's video already. I already got Friday's video queued for this week. So I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead because I know I go out of town on the weekend and I don't want to get stuck with too much, but I might try and record a little bit while I'm out of town too, and put that into a video as well. So anyway, I also have that stuff going on. Johnny, real quick before we end, anything special you want to talk about with your channel that you got coming up?
I put out a video yesterday or day before yesterday. I guess it was Monday. A really good video where I kind of go into detail about my slip up and kind of talk about that a little bit. And then I'd show me sprinting up some hills, and I like that. I'm hoping to have another video out on Friday. But don't forget, Brian was with Tony Hampton. So you guys, if you follow Dr. Tony Hampton, if not, go to his channel, subscribe, and watch for his interview with Brian on Dr. Tony Hampton's channel. And Brian, enjoy your week. You and your wife have a good time. See both your daughters. Enjoy that beach. Get plenty of sunshine and do a little sprinting in that sand while you're there. and we'll get ready for October the 1st.
All right. I'm really looking forward to the video with Dr. Tony Hampton. I think he said it's probably going to be next Friday that's going to come out, but I think he might be doing some shorts out of it too or something. I'm not sure. But I want to see, I don't know if he's going to break it up or not, because literally it was like over an hour and a half. It was a long thing. And then after we were done, we were talking. He's like the nicest down to earth guy. It's crazy. We were talking for a while after we were done and everything. And he's a great guy. And he doesn't quite have the following of some of the other doctors because he hasn't been on YouTube as long, but he's got over 100,000 subscribers. He should have more. He should have 1 million subscribers. Like if you watch his videos, he's so to the point, doesn't, add fluff and so forth, and great information. You got to check him out if you don't already know about Dr. Tony Hampton. He's great. So anyway, that's all I got. All right, Johnny, it's great tonight. We went a little long, but that's okay. I liked that we did hit the different topics. And we'll see everybody. Well, Johnny will see everybody next Wednesday for sure. And in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
See y'all. Good night.